resume from where we left last time, but I will have a quick recap of the penetration model that we had started. Primarily, Higby proposed the penetration theory to account for the realistic conditions which do not give the liquid enough time in contact with the gas to generally establish a steady state. And that is the reason why the film theory is not able to explain most of the external data. So, to overcome the limitations of film theory, the unsteady state picture has been proposed by Higby. And while it is an improvement over the film theory, there is one simplistic assumption about constancy of lifetimes of all liquid elements. Basically, the eddies that I had introduced you to in context of turbulent flow could be visualized as an element of liquid undergoing unsteady state mass transfer. It does not mean that we have to have a turbulent flow, but primarily practical conditions are turbulent, they are little understood. So, eddies might well be considered as contributing to the transfer of mass from interface into the bulk. Now, to presume that all eddies or all elements of liquid to have the same length of time at interface would appear over simplistic. However, this is the first step and it prepares you for the analysis which goes into the more complete model, that is surface linear model, which came up after penetration theory. So, we connected also the penetration theory to the mass transfer into a falling liquid film, and because the time of contact is short now, the element of liquid of finite size would be sufficient to account for diffusion, because diffusion does not get much time for the solute A to penetrate into the liquid deep within. So, even the length scale of the order of the film thickness is like infinity. The element is actually much smaller, other end of the element can serve as infinity, and because now the action of diffusion and convection is limited to the interface where the velocity profile is flat, we could say that our visualization is about a train of elements starting from the top of the test section and descending down, all elements staying till the end of the test section before they get mixed with the bulk. And during that time, which will be, you could estimate as the length of the test section capital L divided by the maximum velocity u I max. That will be the kind of time scale for elements to be undergoing mass transfer. We take that into consideration. And we had these two pictures, either we have bubbles or drops in contact with the surrounding liquid, or you might have stirred liquid in contact with gas. Okay. In this case, if turbulent flow, the eddies come here, we presume that they stay for the same length of time and then go into the bulk and mix their contents with elevated concentrations of A coming from the transfer across the interface from the gas phase. Now, we do not refer to ED at all. Okay. So, that discussion was in the context of how the turbulent transfer takes place. Now, we are talking of models which do not invoke ED, but eddies are given consideration in the sense that this packet of liquid which comes and stays same for same length of time is now to be taken as all eddies, and we are putting this artificial restriction that the eddies have to spend the same time. Now, we do not really need to invoke ED, we will work with the ordinary diffusivity. So, as I said, these are not theories, okay. We are calling them theories because it is a jargon which has been coined up from long times. So, we stick to jargon, but we understand these are only models, they have limited applicability. Okay. So, let me clarify that. Even though I went to the extent of showing you some large scale pictures of eddies, and which was intended to drive into your minds the idea that within eddies also lot of life is there, lots of things are happening there. However, in the penetration theory, we presume that these elements of liquid or eddies, they are stagnant. So, there is no flow within. Okay. Now, you may say, okay, this is, you are calling it eddy, but you are not permitting flow within, but that is the limitation of the model. Okay. This also probably might help you appreciate the fact that for the same reality as revealed by your measurements, we might have multitude of these sets of assumptions which give you comparable predictions, which means basically in brief I would say the same reality may be described differently. Okay. The equations might be different, assumptions might be different, and yet the measurements are reasonably well described, quantitative. So, it might be just perception of reality from different viewpoints, you can put it that way. Okay. So, the elements or eddies do not have flow within, they only descend from top to bottom or from one end to another. Because the eddies were going to be random, this we know already as one of the limitations, right, and we will see shortly we need to improve upon this. Okay. So, the diameter divided by rise velocity of bubble or a drop, it could be terminal settling velocity if the drop is heavier. In either case, this length scale of the diameter of bubble divided by the terminal velocity of the bubble or drop will give you the time scale, which is the time indicative of the lifetime of elements, and we presume this is same for all. In reality, actually you might have another situation. It is very rare that you would be able to create drops or bubbles of exactly same size. So, on account of that variation itself, dB itself may be varying. So, rise velocities can be different. So, there could be theta which is only constant for a particular bubble. So, we imposing our ideas, our visualization on reality, we say okay, all bubbles, all drops, whatever we have, they are all same size, they rise with the same velocity, and this theta is constant. All we need to do then is consider the diffusion, unsteady state diffusion over this time scale. Okay. Since there is no movement presumed within the element or eddy, we will have no convective term here, we will have only diffusion, okay, and we will have accumulation. So, I had shown the last equation here, this one, dou Ca by dou theta, that is the accumulation equal to dAB dou 2 Ca by dou Z square, that is the diffusional net input into this element. This is our unsteady state diffusion equation. This is the equation we need to take as the basic governing equation for penetration theory. Okay. I had rationalized that this theta, if you visualize keeping the falling film in mind, y divided by ui max could be visualized the time element is at the test section starting from the top. You start with a reference frame attached to an element at the top and you slide along it, and you perceive that in this time the diffusion is changing the concentration by this equation. Okay. So, that is the connection. The conditions are at theta equal to 0, everywhere for all z the concentration is C is 0 except the interface, and then for theta greater than or equal to 0, z equal to 0, Ca is Ci, that is interface concentration. Finally, the other end of the element, that is, let us say this is the other end, this is z equal to 0, this is a finite distance, but since diffusion is not able to show any change of concentration beyond this point, this acts like infinity. So, like in the short time of contact analysis in the falling film, the other end of this finite and rather small element is like infinity. Okay. So, that is the that is the condition here, z tending to infinity, Ca is Ca0 for all theta, okay, all theta greater than or equal to 0. So, is this all clear? Do you have a very clear idea now the connection the falling film analysis has with this? As at the same time you have the clarity about the assumptions of penetration model. Okay. Now, I presume that you have done that part. If you had revised that part of BSL, it will be easier to follow, but as I promised I would make this self complete. We can solve this partial differential equation under the constant diffusivity assumption with these boundary conditions to obtain a solution which contains error function complementary. Okay. Now, it is here that I want to connect one more piece of information that hopefully you have learnt of in transport phenomena, but I do not know to what level of detail and clarity. So, let me refer to that. I am talking about a particular transformation which allows you to solve a problem like this, a boundary value problem, unsteady state one, leading to the error function or error function complementary kind of solution. There is a named transformation, you recall that? Think for maybe 20 seconds, similar transformation. Okay, good, you know the words. Now, let us see whether you can describe what that transformation is. I am not asking you to give me the exact form of transformation. I am just asking you to tell me whatever you remember of that transformation, and I am expecting 5 features. If you are struggling with your memory, I can help you by asking a set of simple questions. What you essentially told me is that it is a dimensionless variable and it helps you convert this partial differential equation into ordinary differential equation. Now, let me ask a set of questions. First question was already, that is preempted, whether that transformation is dimensional or dimensionless. It is a dimensionless transformation. Second, what variables does this similarity transformation contain? It is dimensionless, so it contains certain variables. So, what variables does that contain? I would not even go to the extent of naming z and theta yet. I will say that it combines independent variables. Theta and z, time and z are independent variables, right. Third, I will come to the most important last. Let us run this out. Okay. Third is, what does it do to your problem? You define, you express that, it converts this partial differential equation into ordinary differential equation. It must do that, otherwise it is not a similar transformation which will work for us, right. Next, it does something to the conditions also. You can't just change the problem, we change not the governing equation alone, we change also the conditions. So, what it does is, if it transforms this into ordinary differential equation, then it will become ordinary differential equation with only one independent coordinate, and that will be eta, which is the combination of z and theta, as you said, and instead of 3 conditions we will have 2 conditions, because it will become a second order ordinary differential equation. Okay. So, it combines or it makes 3 conditions collapse into 2, that means 2 conditions must collapse into 1 should be unaltered, right. So, it does that, that is what fourth. And the fifth and most important, we should have started with this actually, and it is very important to know this part. You can think of a successful similar transformation only and only in context of infinite or semi-infinite domains. Okay. If you attempt to make use of similar transformation in a finite domain, then you would not meet with success, because 2 things will possibly go wrong. The conditions first would not naturally collapse into 2. Okay. So, we must start with this, that you think of similar transformation only in infinite or semi-infinite domain. Now, do not contradict telling me that your element is so small, not even a millimeter, maybe at the most few millimeters, how can you use similar transformation then there? That is because under our mental picture and because thanks to diffusion it is slow process, in a short time the depth of penetration is so short that even length scale of the order of millimeter is like infinity. Diffusing molecules never get opportunity to reach the end of 1 millimeter. Okay. Now, just to tickle you a little, do you remember similar transformation, form of similar transformation? I have kept the slide on for long enough, but I distracted you by my words and questions, yet you might have had chance to get a visual memory of the similar transformation. Okay. Now, depending on the problem, the form of similar transformation itself might be different. Okay. So far probably you have been only exposed to the planar systems and so on. So, and the action beginning at the gas liquid interface. So, there is only one similar transformation that you have to remember, right. But my point is why even remember that, and that is where I come to a theme where I say that can we be ambitious enough to understand our equations so well that we can decode a lot of information which is there in equations without having to remember. Okay. So, let me suggest to you a method based on dimensional analysis to figure out the form of similar transformation. Okay. Let me go to that slide. Let us say we do the following. Under the assumption of constant diffusivity, move this dAB here. So, that is in the denominator position in product with theta. Okay. We just do this, move dAB here. Now, we look at our equation and we have these derivatives, first partial and second partial. We can view this as the numerator position and denominator position for each side. Numerator position is occupied by concentration. Okay. Denominator position is occupied by now dAB theta and z square. Since this equation is dimensionally consistent, it is clear that z square is scaling as dAB theta, right. So, z will scale as root dAB theta. If you take the ratio of z to root dAB theta, you should get a dimensionless coordinate. Let us say that is eta. We still do not know if we need any constant there. So, arbitrarily put some alpha which we can try and determine later. Okay. Once we have eta equal to z by root dAB theta, alpha z by root dAB theta, alpha is yet to be determined as eta, we can substitute for dou by dou theta and dou 2 by dou z square in terms of dou by dou eta. Okay. And later we can choose our alpha so that it becomes convenient to bring in the error function. We need to remember error function definition, we will come to that. Anyway, and the alpha comes out to be 1 by 2, well you can figure that out. Error function of z by 2 root dAB theta is 2 by root pi integral 0 to this argument z by 2 root dA theta e power minus z squared dz. Z is the dummy independent variable to distinguish it from the variable eta here. Okay. So, let us go through the derivation which I have shown on page 164. Let us go to that, different number 172. Okay. So, that is our problem. We figured out that eta will be z by root dAB theta into alpha, that alpha turns out to be 1 by 2, and then we write for dou by dou theta this d eta by d theta will be z by 2 root dA and d by d theta of theta to the power 1 by 2, which is minus 1 by 2 theta to the power minus 3 by 2. Now, since eta is z by 2 root dA theta, this will be minus 1 by 2 theta to the power minus 1 into eta, because root theta is absorbed here. Clear? Now, dou by dou theta will be dou by dou eta into d eta by d theta. So, that is dou by dou eta, d eta by d theta is this eta minus 1 by 2 theta to the power minus 1. We need dou CA by dou theta to substitute for this, right. You all with me? Then we need to find dou 2 by dou z square. So, we go with this dou by dou z is equal to dou by dou eta d eta by dz is dou by dou eta and z means 1 by 2 root dA theta. When you take second partial, it will become dou 2 by dou eta square 1 by 4 dA theta. So, we substitute for dou 2 Ca by dou z square as dou 2 Ca by dou eta square into 1 by 4 dA theta. This is it. There is a dAb or this dA here. So, this is the right hand side, left hand side is dou Ca by dou eta, eta into minus 1 by 2 theta. Now, we can simplify, we can write this theta cancels, this dA cancels and one of the factors 2 cancels here. So, we are left with 2 eta d Ca by d eta with a minus sign. When you transpose it, you get d2 Ca by d eta square plus 2 eta d Ca by d eta equal to 0. Okay. Is it all clear now? Straightforward. So, we got our ordinary differential equation corresponding to the original partial differential equation. We have only one independent variable eta, the similarity transformation. We need to also think of the conditions, right. So, come to conditions maybe once. Z by 2 root dA theta is eta. So, when Z is 0, Ca is Cai, which means when eta is 0, Ca is Cai. That is our one condition, eta equal to 0, Ca equal to Cai. When theta is 0, the denominator becomes 0, root dA theta. So, eta blows up. So, when eta tends to infinity, Ca is Ca0. Similarly, when Z tends to infinity for all finite times, eta blows again into the same condition, C equal to Ca0. So, eta equal to 0, Ca is Cai, that is one boundary condition. Eta tending to infinity, which combines 1 and 3 initial and the condition at infinity, into eta tending to infinity, Ca equal to Ca0. So, we got two conditions, second order ordinary differential equation. So, the problem is solvable, well posed. So, we come to that part here. Since now we see dCA by d eta, we can substitute this as a variable p. So, this becomes a first order ordinary differential equation, which will become basically this dP by d eta plus 2 eta p equal to 0. Then we find that there is an integrating factor, we will have to multiply it with exponential integral 2 eta d eta, and that will work out to be eta square, exponential eta square. So, we have our equation now as exact differential written as d by d eta p times this integrating factor exponential integral 2 eta d eta equal to 0, right. First integration will give you first constant of integration a1, and we have p exponential eta square equal to a1. We substitute for p back now dCA by d eta. So, we have dCA by d eta equal to a1 exponential minus eta square. We do the second integration now and write Ca equal to a1 integral e power minus eta square d eta plus second constant of integration a2. So, we have e power minus eta square here. It is here that you need to recall the error function definition. Error function z by 2 root dA theta is 2 by root pi integral 0 to z by 2 root dA theta exponential minus z square dz, right. So, in terms of that we can write this as a1 2 by root pi error function eta plus const. Now, we need to determine these two constants and we have those conditions. This first and second condition, that is infinity and initial condition, they combine into one, as I said eta tending to infinity, Ca is Ca0, eta equal to 0, Ca is Cai. So, we plug in those conditions and evaluate constants. So, if you substitute eta equal to infinity first, then error function, you have to remember this, let me draw your attention to it. Error function, let us remember, is a monotonic increasing function, okay, it keeps on increasing and it levels off to 1 at a not very large value of the argument, about 2.7, 2.8, around 3 it will become 1. Okay. So, if you are looking at infinity, error function infinity is 1. So, we have a1 root pi by 2 into 1 plus a2 equal to Ca0. At infinity, eta tending to infinity, concentration Ca0. Okay. and when eta is 0, error function 0 is 0. So, we get A2 equal to the concentration and when eta is 0, that is CAI. So, A2 comes out to be equal to CAI, and therefore, we can calculate A1, and so A1 comes out to be CA0 minus CAI into 2 by root pi. So, with this A2 is CAI, A1 is this 2 by root pi CA0 minus CAI, we have profile CA equal to CA0 minus CAI, error function eta equal to CAI. So, that is our solution. We just arrange it a little bit further, we subtract from both sides CA0, okay. I will come to this why CA0, and then we divide by CA0 minus CAI, we will be left with 1 minus error function eta, okay. I said that error function eta starts with eta equal to 0 equal to 0. When eta tends to infinity, error function eta becomes 1. So, it is a value, it is a function with value between 0 and 1. Okay. If I rearrange this as 1 minus error function, we call that error function complementary, that also is between 0 and 1. Okay. So, remember error function complementary eta is all you need to remember as a solution for this problem, and this left hand side will be CA0 CA minus CA0 upon CAI minus CA0. Think of this for a minute. CA is concentration at any time at any location within the element. Okay. Since the phenomenon is of absorption, diffusion is bringing A, Ca will be greater than the initial concentration, right. So, Ca minus Ca0 is a positive quantity, Ca is greater than Ca0. We also know that the maximum value for concentration is at the interface, that is the saturation or equilibrium concentration, which means magnitude of Ca minus Ca0 at its highest is Cai minus Ca0, which is this, which means our error function complementary written as Ca minus Ca0 upon Ci minus Ca0 is a fraction. Ca minus Ca0 is bound to be smaller than Cai minus Ca0. So, this is a fraction, error function complementary will also be a fraction at most equal to 1. So, that is our solution for penetration model. Is that clear? Even if it is not, that delayed home exercise you can do today and rework this at home. Okay. Now, once we have this concentration profile is known, we need to find out the mass transfer coefficient. That is what we started with. Please remember, I repeat now, I defined the yardstick for all models to be judged to be how they compare against reality or measurements. And in the context of models of mass transfer, that statement of reality is what is the relationship between the average mass transfer coefficient KL average and diffusivity. Remember, we said experiments reveal KL average to be proportional to diffusivity to the power n goes from 0 to about 0.8, 0.9. Film theory predicted 1, so we discarded. Now, the question is where do we land up with this unsteady state better looking picture, more realistic. But to come to that, we must derive the mass transfer coefficient. Profile is not sufficient. So, we need to again invoke the Fickian law and the definition of mass transfer coefficient. Let us do that. If this is Ca, Ca minus Ca0 equal to Ci minus Ca0 equal to 1 minus error function eta or error function complement eta, we need minus dA b dou Ca by dou Z. So, to get that we differentiate this with respect to eta, dou Ca by dou Z at Z equal to 0 will be dou Ca by dou eta times d eta by dz or dou eta by dou Z, and that means basically if you take Ci minus Ca0 as the constant outside, dou Ca by dou Z will be dou by dou Z of this 1 minus error function eta, right, and that will be dou by dou eta of 1 minus error function eta into d eta by dz. D eta by dz is 1 by 2 root d theta, that z gave us 1, right, that will come. The derivative of 1 is 0, derivative of minus error function will be minus 2 by root pi e power minus eta square, because that integral was from 0 to eta square, e power minus eta square, and then d eta by dz, which is 1 by 2 root dA theta. We simplify this, 2 cancels here, and we multiply this by minus dAB. So, Na is minus dAB dou Ca by dou Z, and that will be equal to minus dA dou Ca by dou Z is this quantity here, minus 2 by root pi 1 by 2 root dA theta. E power minus eta square becomes 1, because Z equal to 0 is eta equal to 0. So, that gives you 1, and then we have the factor Ci minus Ca 0. So, when we simplify this, 2 cancels, and we get, along with minus dA here, this minus sign cancels, we get root dA by pi theta Ci minus C 0. So, the flux from the Fickian definition will come out to be equal to this, minus dAB dou Ca by dou Z will give you this. Driving force is Cai minus Ca 0. Look at the element, surface has maximum concentration, beyond the extent of element concentration is Ca 0. So, the driving force can be taken to be overall Ci minus Ca 0, and the coefficient for this is root dA by pi theta, that is your mass transfer coefficient. So, we get this now, mass transfer coefficient, instantaneous mass transfer coefficient is, according to penetration theory, root of dA by pi theta. Okay. We could next go to the, this is the instantaneous flux we derived, right, root dA by pi theta into Ci minus C 0. If we want average flux and average mass transfer coefficient, we simply integrate from 0 to theta and divide by theta, and that will give you Ci minus C 0 root of dA by pi theta, d theta integral will be Ci minus Ca 0 root dA by pi, theta to the power minus half will give theta to the power half by 1 by 2, that comes here, and then we cancel this, we get 2 times Ci minus Ca 0 root of dA by pi theta Ci minus Ca 0. See here, this is average mass transfer coefficient, 2 root of dA by pi theta. It is exactly double the instantaneous mass transfer coefficient. So, in the unsteady state penetration model picture, we get the average mass transfer coefficient twice, exactly twice the instantaneous mass transfer coefficient. Okay. So, it is easy to remember, root dA by pi theta instantaneous, twice is average. Now, come to what we started with, we wanted to know how KL average depends on dA. Here we get the diffusivity to the power 0.5. KL average is now proportional to DAB or dA to the power 0.5. The range was 0 to about 0.8 to 0.9. One may say that simply moving from the steady state to unsteady state picture, we have got right into the middle of the range of exponents. Obviously, penetration model will agree with a lot larger experimental measurements compared to film theory. So, we have already taken, Higby has already taken a giant step in describing experimental results or empirical facts much better than the film model. Now, it turns out that the drawback of penetration model still that we can see remains to be constancy of lifetimes. All elements have to stay at the surface for the same length of time, whether it is vertical film or a pool of liquid being contacted with the gas. Every eddy, every element has to spend the same constant length of time at the interface, and it is short. So, that may be the oversimplification now we will identify as the drawback of penetration model. This was done by P.V. Dankwards, who did extensive work on gas liquid reactions in the 1950s and came up with very important ideas, including the concept of the residence time distribution that you learn of in reaction engineering. how to diagnose illness of a reactor without actually seeing what happens inside. So, residence time distribution theory and the next model, which is improvement or penetration model, and that is known as surface renewal model. These are two singular most important contributions from Danckwerts group at Cambridge. Okay. So, just as I pointed out to you that at MIT Sherwood's work was seminal, at Cambridge it was Danckwerts. These are the pioneers of mass transfer as a subject in terms of fundamental understanding. Sherwood's work laid the empirical foundation, robust data leading to fairly general correlations, and Danckwerts' work gave a theoretical foundation in the form of surface renewal model. But before I launch into surface renewal model, I will just give you a little bit of visualization, okay, and hopefully this you will like. Now imagine, now this is an artifact, pure thought experiment. Imagine that you have a situation like this. There is a pool of liquid intentionally kept under turbulent conditions, then there is a gas phase mixture here from which one of the components is solubilized, absorbed into this liquid. Let us say you are visualizing looking at the top of this surface. Let us say the surface could be viewed in colors of your choice. So, I am taking you from black and white vision to the full blown color vision. Let us say that the entire lifetime, range of lifetimes elements can have at this surface we want to visualize. So, what comes to your mind? We are creating these eddies randomly, they can come with whatever velocities, their distribution, they can come with whatever sizes they have. Some of the eddies might strike the surface or interface, just touch it and go, that can happen. An element comes to the surface, immediately sinks into the bottom. This is one extreme. I am invoking my principle of extremes. The least time an element or eddy can spend at the interface will be 0, and then other extreme, what is the maximum time an element can stay at the interface? You can play safe, break away from penetration shackles. Now come to reality. Reality is, you know, the eddies are random, different sizes, different velocities. So, I told you that minimum time it can spend is, one of the eddies can spend is 0. What is the other extreme time you can imagine? And I am asking you to be liberal, infinity. Okay. Already I have got you rid of the aversion for infinities. Infinities are to be lived with. Okay. So, it is comparative, a time which is finite but long enough compared to certain time scale of interest may be taken as infinity, right. So, in our picture the time can be as low as 0 or it could be as high as infinity. Now, imagine that I split this entire lifespan into 7 compartments or intervals, and for those intervals of time you can put it this way. Suppose the 1 hour is to be regarded or 70 minutes is to be regarded as infinity. Let us say every 10-minute interval that you can have is assigned a color. 0 to 10 minutes is violet, 60 to 70 that interval is red. So, I am covering the entire visible light spectrum, attaching a color to these compartments. These intervals are lifetimes. Now, of all the billions of eddies here, maybe a seventh of these will be in the interval 0 to 10 minutes and so on, if I oversimplify it for visualization. So, every color will have certain population, and if it were equal distribution of lifetimes, then looking from top I would see a mosaic of colors. Actually, I am choosing to bracket all times between 0 and 10 within violet. I am not taking any difference within 10 minutes to be represented by any other color. If you do it, it will become a finer picture. So, if I look from top, considering that this is a random thing, I will see a mosaic of these 7 colors making up the entire surface, right. I could put them together, I can bring at that snapshot all eddies with lifetime between 0 and 10 under the violet category and so on. So, I will only have 7 compartments corresponding to 7 colors, but I know now that I am not dealing with a uniform lifetime, but I may have a distribution of lifetimes. Okay. This is only to help you visualize. Now, make it completely random. Elements are coming, spending little time, going away, and then their whole range can be from 0 to infinity. So, if I take that kind of random age distribution, okay, I should be able to apply the equations which we have now for penetration theory for each of those intervals. See, our picture was theta is constant. Now, we are saying that theta can be in any of these 7 intervals or any number of infinite intervals you want, but within that interval, small interval, my picture of penetration theory is okay, which means for any sub interval of the actual age distribution, the solution obtained from penetration theory is valid. All I have to do is account for this distribution. Okay. That brings us to a concept of what is known as stationary age distribution. Okay. And this is the heart of surface renewal theory. I will try to explain this with a real life problem of human population and birth and death next time. We will stop here for today.